All right, in this section, we're going to look at how you can draw, even if you have no talent, you feel like you have no talent, and you're not a good drawer. I'm here to tell you that I have no talent, and but I don't let that stop me. You can draw anything, and you will be effective in this exercise, and I'm going to prove it to you. Let's go. Now that we've worked out that not everyone has the talent to draw very well, I'm going to show you why you actually don't need to do that, and that talent is not required to be a facilitator and use sketchnoting and visual communication. So I'm going to show you with a couple examples. Okay, so just to show you that talent really doesn't matter, let's go through a hypothetical scenario where you are capturing someone's knowledge of the planets. And so of course you will say, where are these planets in the orbit? And they will tell you, of course, which planet is where, and you get to the fourth planet, which is Mars. So you have a choice here. How do you draw Mars? So we're going to start first with some examples. I did these on my phone. We're going to start here on the left-hand side, and we're going to draw what I would call a high fidelity drawing, which is I'm really trying to make it look like Mars. And I have zero talent. So for me, I would definitely change color. I'm using my finger in this case, so it's not going to be that great. But there'd be some stars in the, constellation in the sky or the backdrop behind Mars. I would switch some colors back to red, and then I would draw some craters. Mars has a lot of craters on it. That's how you recognize Mars visually. And then, I draw a little smiley face on it because it's a planet, and I like planets. And that would be, if I'm trying to really draw something to the best of my ability, that's what it would look like, and that's how long it would take. Even if I were to simplify that process, I'm going to do, again, what's called low fidelity. So if I'm drawing planets, you'll notice that they're probably all circles. So I did draw the circle, and I changed color to red because that's very recognizable, especially if I have a lot of planets. Changing colors will help me distinguish them on the board. But then, I just wrote Mars on there because I have no talent. So your goal is to solve for readability and speed in these workshops because you are capturing information and it's going to come fast. So your goal in that first pass is to capture it. Now, the beauty of this is that you can see both of these are very instantly recognizable as Mars. I don't have to explain it to you, especially if you know the context. And everyone in the room is going to know the context because you're working together. So because there's a shared knowledge, like if you're prior to the previous example I gave of not to do a chalk talk, if you're doing a chalk talk, you're giving information no one in the room has, and it's really, really important that you deliver that information well and they can understand it and it's on brand, it looks good. When you're sketchnoting, in order to discover, uncover ideas or move something from the verbal to the visual, it's going to be less important because everyone in the room is working from, you're actually capturing the people in the room's information. They already have that information. So they're going to recognize this right away, even if it's low fidelity. And we'll go one more. We'll go for, if you really don't have a lot of time, writing Mars on the board is going to help you, right? Even if you don't have to change color. Changing color sometimes does add time, or you change it on your tablet, it will add time. So everyone, because you're working with everyone else's information, they know the information. And so this is going to be, I would argue that the stuff on the right is actually more recognizable than the planet I drew on the left because I have no talent. But it's more important that you actually have recognizable drawings. So this is what I would solve for. I would solve for, boxes, lines, written words, abbreviations. I mean, colors might help you, especially if you're trying to distinguish different processes or different connectors or things that I'll go over later. Colors might be helpful, especially if they don't take a lot of time to swap the color. But honestly, throw your idea of perfection out the window. It's not necessary. Really, it's not. And as you go through the course, you'll see why. Now, we're going to give you another example. And so I come from the technology world. And so a lot of these things that I draw are actually recognizable shapes. And there's a lot of advantage now with using something that's very recognizable. I would always solve for something that looks recognizable. Always try to go with something that conforms to what other people know, because you're using their knowledge. And so you're really drawing for them. And so if you're drawing a carrot, it should look like a wide number of people's idea of a carrot. The same with a database. And to help you out, I would recommend you do one thing. What you can do to get some ideas about what the common shapes are is you can go to flaticon.com, right? Just go to flaticon. And I like to set it as black and set it as outline. So this looks the closest to what I would draw. And then I like to look for stuff. So in this case, I looked for the word database. You can look for anything. Like I look for, like I'm going to look for carrot, right? Just for my previous example. And you'll see it actually looks, most of these things look like someone's idea of a carrot. These look pretty and lovely, but in reality, if you draw like an oval and some fluff, you're probably okay, because everyone is your people in the room are telling you carrot. So they know it's a carrot. So you draw something like an oval and a little fluff, like it's a carrot, or you could just label it. So the same with database. In my field, a lot of things are sort of very recognizable. Like if you draw a cylinder, everyone recognizes that as like some kind of storage. If you add a couple lines, everyone immediately recognizes that as a database. So going here is going to help you if you're thinking about how to draw things or compile your vocabulary for this. I would go to Flaticon and sort of peruse this library of images and just kind of search around for those things. Alternatively, because these look good and they look hand-drawn as we get to the transcription phase, if your company has a subscription to Flaticon, or you have a subscription to Flaticon, it's not that expensive. This is going to be a really great way for you to get some stock symbols so you can rapidly transcribe what you did. And because it's relatively close to like what you did in the group, it's going to be very readable, but also it's going to be like very clear. This is a professional graphic. And also it's going to let you give you a shape that you can change and drag and move over time, which is really the strength of these diagrams. So now that we know what a database looks like, let's go draw one. Okay, so now that we have an idea of a database in mind, I did the same exercise. So I'm going to draw the first, trying to be very artistic to the best of my abilities, which are literally zero. And if I was to do that, I would probably draw it the way I saw it in Flaticon, so people are recognizable. But again, it's not that recognizable if you're not in the meeting. But it did take me a long time. So let's draw it again, kind of low fidelity. And this time we'll add a little label. And maybe the colors are helpful, but in the end, the fastest way to draw this is going to be like a cylinder and maybe a label. And in the end, this one still took me the fastest to draw. And it's still kind of the most recognizable one out of all of these. So again, I hope this proves the point. Like, you will not need any talent whatsoever to do this, because everyone in the room has this shared knowledge of what's going on. And so they are also going to recognize this. And in the next section, we'll play a little game where I'll show you how easy it is for everyone who has this shared knowledge to recognize what you're drawing.